Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sree's daily global COVID-19 show. My name is Sree Sreenivasan, and it's my honor to convene this daily conversation with all of you. We talk about various aspects of the COVID-19 crisis. We talk about health, finance, and inequality. Suggestions are always welcome. Sree@Sree.net. Today, we're on episode number 170, 170 days of lockdown in New York. And so we have a special guest. Our topic is the Queen of Staten Island. You're going to get to meet Marilyn Zayfert. She's a Staten Island-based digital expert, FIT professor, president of illumiNET Media. After Superstorm Sandy, she destroyed homes and lives in 2012. Marilyn was widely lauded for her work helping bring accurate information and helping rebuild her island. She will discuss her work during COVID and much more. You're going to meet her in just a few minutes. We're live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Please hit share right now so your friends and family around the world can join us. Hi, everyone. I'm Sree, and it's a pleasure to be with all of you. I'm the Marshall Loeb Visiting Professor of Digital Innovation at Stony Brook School of Journalism and co-founder of Digimentors, a social, digital, and virtual events consulting company. Our motto, don't cancel your event without talking to us first. And if you're planning a virtual event, please get in touch, Sree@Sree.net. You see my email address right here. We'd love to talk to you and geek out with you about virtual events, what's working, what's not. We've done events for 50 people and for 100,000 people. I bet your show, your conference is somewhere between those two numbers, and we'd love to chat. So please get in touch. If you're joining us for the first time or haven't been here in a while, you should know about these numbers and the background of our show. We have had more than 170. This is our 170th episode, but we last looked at 165. In the first 165 episodes, we had 299 guests, 175 of them women. We're going to work on upping that ratio. Guests from 62 cities and 16 countries, including the chief scientist of the World Health Organization. We've had more than 50 doctors and nurses and authors and journalists and CEOs and founders and teachers and professors. And we've had more than 1 million viewers and 122 million social impressions on our hashtag SreeCovid19 call. You can find all our archives at youtube.com/SreenET, youtube.com/SreenET. Please check them out. And we are grateful to our partners at Scroll Global and Scroll.in. Please check out their work. Because of them, we're able to reach really massive audiences. And none of this would be possible without our awesome producers, Rose Horowitz at Rose Horowitz 31 and Vandana Menon, Vandana_Menon. They're tweeting and sharing the conversation. So please find them and follow them as well. We're live right now on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. Let me thank our sponsors who make this all possible. We want to thank Muckrack Academy for their free course that they helped us put together. It's called Fundamentals of Social Media, and it's available right now. More than 4,000 people have taken it, and so should you. The basics of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I learned so much putting it together, and so will you. So please check it out. And by the way, tell us where you're watching from right now. We also want to thank our friends at nonbelievable.com, a cookie company. Divinely delicious cookies on a mission. Each handcrafted cookie provides a meal to those in need. One cookie equals one meal. So why not get a cookie right now and use the code Sree, SREE, for 20% off for the cookies at nonbelievable.com. We also want to thank our friends at She's on Call, a show that runs every Sunday at 11 a.m. on Facebook and on Twitter. Our hosts are Dr. Sujana Chandrasekhar and Dr. Marina Kurian. Last week's episodes, you can still go back and see all the archives. They're fantastic, and you can find them at She's on Call. We also want to thank our friend Charles Cunnincarroll for his book, The Inventor in You, a step-by-step guide to your first invention. Charles has more than 80 patents. He's at Inventor Charles, and his book website is guidetoinvention.com. I promise you will learn a lot. We're so grateful to all our sponsors. We have just a couple of more to get through to tell you all about them. Additional promotional consideration provided by please check out hotstar.com/US, and please check out all their fabulous shows that they have, including movies that are premieres that air every single week, all subtitled, of course. And we want to tell you, so those are all our sponsors, and then we want to tell you about an event partner. And this is Rise or Fall Together, OneShare.World's Interdependence Summit. And some fabulous speakers are going to be there. Renee Fleming, the world-acclaimed singer, David Nabarro, World Health Organization's Special Envoy on COVID-19, Jairam Ramesh, a leading environmental expert out of India, Kekashan Basu, founder and president of Green Hope Foundation and UN Human Rights Champion, oneshare.world/live. It's a free conference taking place 9 a.m. to noon on Thursday, September 17th. Everybody, please check out oneshare.world/live. All right, are you ready to meet Marilyn? Because I certainly am. She's the queen of Staten Island, and she is a digital expert, FIT professor, president of illumiNET Media, and she did so much for her community after Superstorm Sandy hit Staten Island, and now she has been doing so much during COVID-19. So let's bring her on the screen and bring her here to say hello to all of you. And please tell us where you're watching from. Everybody say hi to my friend, Marilyn Zayfert.
Hey, good evening. Thrilled to be here with all of you. I'm just trying to make sure I'm in the frame. I know a little bit of my head is getting cut off, but doing the best I can. And I'm thrilled to be here. And I've had a really illuminating summer working and doing some interesting things ever since we've been hit with this pandemic. And I'm really thrilled to be here with you. I'm talking to you from my living room in Staten Island. And we just experienced some thunderstorms here. And otherwise, I'm sorry I'm moving around too much. But I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're delighted to have you. Marilyn is such a wonderful force of nature herself. And you're all in for a treat as you listen to her. So first, Marilyn, my question is always, how are you doing? How's your family? By some of the things you already said, we're going to learn a lot about the adventures you had this summer, but just kind of how are things at the moment, and how is the family handling the whole pandemic?
We've been really good. We've been quarantining, and we're fortunate because we're in a house, so we have a yard, and what doesn't occur to people about Staten Island when they first hear about it is that it's a very green space in New York City. It's called the Borough of Parks, and I live in what's called a green belt. And so I'm fortunate to have hiking trails and bike runs and all kinds of wonderful places to move around here. And you know, we're doing the best that we can, along with our neighbors and our friends. The family's been good, and I hope that the same is for you and for all of those who are tuning in.
Thank you, Marilyn. We really appreciate that. I'm going to actually show a map so that we can actually tell people where Staten Island is. And a lot of people, we have a big international audience. So
that's a big map of Staten Island, to be honest with you. Usually we're not represented that largely compared to the city.
Yeah.
Because we look almost as big as.
Yeah. So here's Manhattan. Here is Brooklyn. Here is Queens, right? So everybody knows, people are familiar with that. And here is Staten Island, right right there where it says Staten Island. Can you see that? So
Yeah.
let's tell people a little bit about Staten Island first, and you can see it's right next to Manhattan and near Brooklyn and New Jersey. This is all New Jersey on the other side of it. So talk a little bit about Staten Island. Give us a little taste of what Staten Island is and where it is, and then we'll get into it a little bit.
Oh, well, Staten Island is the southernmost point of New York State. So that's a little tidbit.
I had not thought of that. That's right, because New Jersey is right there. New Jersey's further south also, right?
Yeah. Right. So this is like, the southernmost point in New York State, and New York is very large, and your map really isn't like Staten Island's so large on that map, and we're really not very large. I think we're about 12 miles long and 5 miles wide, so to speak. Kind of heart-shaped sometimes compared to Buffalo too. So I call it like an ice cream cone, and what you're seeing at the top of the cone, that looks like a cherry, that's where the Staten Island Ferry is. So if you come to visit us from any place else, usually you'll get over there to the Staten Island Ferry, and you're able to then come and take advantage of a lot of wonderful spaces here. We celebrated the 350th anniversary of Staten Island a couple of years ago. It's rich in a lot of American Revolution history. We have the conference house where I think a peace treaty was signed, and I'm sorry, I'm not really up on the history for it. We have historic Richmond Town, which houses buildings that are 400 years old, and tells a story. We have the Staten Island Zoo, which is a beautiful, environmentally stable and historic zoo here, with the largest reptile display in, I think, America. If I don't know about the world, but I know that we have the largest reptile display here on Staten Island. Tennis, the first tennis in the country was played here on Staten Island. Mary Outerbridge brought it to Staten Island. I've got a million little tidbits to tell. I really am proud of my town here. And of course, the Alice Austin house, Alice Austin, Larky Life, and the great photographer. Her house is still out there. We still have lots of events. It's a fantastic museum. The Staten Island Museum, where it started by naturalists. And so you get to, and they even have a mammoth tooth that was found here on Staten Island. So we know that the dinosaurs roamed here, and some are still around, but it's an interesting slice of history, and a great place to live. It really is.
And there's so much going on there that most people don't know about or know enough about. Why do you think it is that there's a kind of gulf between, say, the Manhattan folks and Staten Island, and just the conception of Staten Island as being part of the 5 boroughs? We hear a lot more about Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and then Staten Island. Can you put that in, first of all, do you agree with that? And then can you put that in perspective?
Well, Staten Island has always been thought of as the forgotten borough. So, I am New York City born and raised. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, which was considered the 4th largest city in America. We had quite a large, I think, 4 million people living in Brooklyn. We are 16 million in the city, and on Staten Island, we're only about 479,000, depending on which stat you're looking at. So we're very small. We have one a federal representative, and that's Max Rose, representing us in the federal government. So we're a small group. There were mostly farmers and fishermen here. There was a lot of Dutch settlement, and of course, we had the Underground Railroad and the Lenape Indians here for a long time. I think that, one, we are an island, and so we are definitely cut off from the rest of the city, as Manhattan is an island too. But I think that early on, it was for whatever reason, when the Verrazano Bridge was built in the 1960s, then you saw the population rise in Staten Island. So that I couldn't even quote you the numbers, but the significant rise in the 70s, 80s, and 90s caused a big buildup, and of course brought us to the population level that we have now. So I think a lot of it has to do with that we are an island, and that we had a very small population as related to the rest of New York City. And then, competing with Manhattan, Bronx, Brooklyn, and every borough has its own personality, and so does Staten Island. It's very interesting place. Last year, I found out that Staten Island has the most born in New York City inhabitants. So we are the borough with the most native-born New Yorkers.
That's so interesting. Yeah, because I guess most of the folks who were born in Staten Island love Staten Island. They stay on, and not the immigrants don't come in as much as they come to other places. Is that why? That explains it. But before we get into that, let's talk about this photo. Vandana Menon, one of our producers, just shared this, and you can see the bridge you just mentioned, the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. And so she took this, I believe, today from Brooklyn. And yeah, and that's what we're looking at. I'm not sure of the exact spot, but I think that looks great and beautiful.
Oh, she was on the Bell Parkway. Yeah. Yeah, I see. I know where she's. I see, because this is my whole life. I could tell you just from that wave that's coming in. Yeah, it's a beautiful shot. Wow, the sky looks gorgeous. There is a lot of incredible opportunity for photography here on Staten Island, and I teach at FIT photography students, and they were looking for places of nature, and I suggested to come to Staten Island. They thought I was joking, but it really is a beautiful green place with reaped in history and wonderful people. And no, it's the reason why we have the most native-born New Yorkers is because those who have come here, or we just haven't left. But another interesting stat is that we have more immigrants coming into Staten Island. So we are actually filling up, and we are vastly multicultural as well. We have Little Sri Lanka, and we have the African diaspora here. We have, I don't know, 54 nations represented. All the schools are always talking about it. We are very diverse. We're a very diverse, multicultural community that lives in peace. I think that what people take out of Staten Island, or what they find funny in the movies or on TV, that does exist as well. But there's so many different kinds of people and cultures and experiences here. It's why I'm still here. It's not that I have never had the opportunity to leave or to go across the country or to another part of the state, but I'm here because I'm not bored. I'm busy. I'm involved. I'm an empty nester now. I don't have children with me, and I'm still busy. There's always something to do. Even with COVID, there's still something to do here. And that's what's wonderful about living here. And I like that. So, you know, the Superstorm Sandy was interesting. At the time, 2012, we didn't have a lot of people, or as many that are using social media as we have today. I feel like it's like an eon ago that that when Superstorm Sandy hit, the first thought that I had was, oh my God, how am I going to help people? This is terrible. And I was really fortunate that that I had the connection, the internet connection. And I had started this little publication called Staten Island NYC Living because I was mad that we were being forgotten. And I thought, well, you know, I live here and it's a great place, and we should let people know what we're about and give it a voice and show it off. And so it wasn't growing that much at the time. I only had about 250 followers on Twitter, and I didn't even have the website up. And suddenly I started to relay information through my Twitter site and then Facebook, and it blew up. I mean, it was people all over the world, people contacting me. The mayor's office sent me a liaison to make sure that I was getting the right kind of communication out to people. Con Edison, food trucks, all the different services out there were pushing information through my little page that I had there, and it just showed the power of social media and how you could use it. When COVID hit and we were closing down and going into the pause, I immediately went into the same mode that I did when Superstorm Sandy hit, and I started to prepare Twitter and the emergency routes and watching the emergency lines of communication, letting people know that I was available to move. And I have to say that 8 years after Superstorm Sandy, I was fortunate enough that they really didn't need me to do this, because after Sandy, everybody did come together. And another thing that we were very fortunate that we have now that we did not have during Sandy was Sharmila Thacker, and she heads COAD, our emergency services, as well as our Staten Island Not-for-Profit Association. So she was able to go in with a team of elected officials and community activists to really pull Staten Island together and get reliable, safe information out there. And the community really did pull together for that. So I found myself a little bored again. I was teaching 3 classes. I had 70 students, and it was pretty rough. And of course, converting your lessons to digital. And I had all kinds of tech mishaps and issues that went on. But the semester ended up really great. And I have a lot of work that the students had provided. But I just was really sure what I was going to do with myself. And I started to work on a project because I felt like mental health was really important.
So here's what we're going to do, Marilyn. I'm going to ask you to pause right there because we want to just remind everyone of what we're doing and who we're with. We're with the awesome Marilyn Zayfert, who's going to tell us in a few minutes about her project that she was able to do about mental health, because it wasn't needed to do the kind of basic information sharing and gathering and sharing that she had to do for her community during her Superstorm Sandy, which was in 2012. And before we get to that part of the story, let's check in on who's weighed in already and said hello to you. And I want to make sure, Marilyn, you had a chance to share the Facebook Live with your audience. So if you haven't done that yet, please do. Go ahead, take your phone, and I'll or if you have your laptop, and just so on your Twitter and in your Facebook, we'd love for you to share that. And hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. We have another half an hour or so with Marilyn. We're talking about all things to do with Staten Island. Have you been? Tell us. What are your memories of Staten Island? I can tell you the Sri Lankan community there is amazing. I went to one of the best meals I ever had at a restaurant, a Sri Lankan restaurant, right near walking distance from the Staten Island ferry. So for those of you who don't know Staten Island, or you've been to Manhattan, been to Queens, been to Brooklyn, but haven't been to Staten Island, there is a ferry that you can take, and it's a free ferry now. It used to be you had to pay for it, but it's free. And it's a great view of New York City for all the different parts of New York that you can see from there. You can see New Jersey and you can see Staten Island. And it's totally worth going on that ferry. If you haven't done that recently, please do it, because it is such a great way to see and get to know Staten Island. Once you're there, you can walk around, you can take a bus. There's so much to see and do. I've spoken at the Staten Island Museum, thanks to Marilyn, about 4 years ago. It was a really special place, and there's a lot of development that's happening there, and we'll ask her about that. First, let's do a little tour of who's watching with us, and we'll have her say hello. Rajan is watching. Good evening from another island, Long Island. So let me ask Marilyn about you can respond to any of these folks that you'd like to, Marilyn, as we go through this. Jonathan's watching from Union Square, and Jonathan has been with us for 170 straight episodes over 170 days. So
yes, and Jonathan is talking about the wonderful Tibetan Museum, which is the only Tibetan museum in the country, and was started by a woman in the I know they're going to kill me for getting this wrong, I think in the 40s. There's a very interesting story. You should look it up. But her name was Jacques Marchais, and she just loved it. And she built this fantastic Tibetan museum. Again, something that you won't see anyplace else. And it's around the corner from my house. So I live that's if Jonathan's been there, I've been there, and I see my friend Camille Carr from North Carolina is on. Saying hello.
Yeah, I'll see Tim McDonald says, love seeing you both together. And Sharmila is here, and she says, thanks for the shout out, Marilyn. That is pretty cool. We should have Sharmila on as well to come and talk to us in a future episode. And
Sharmila did wonderful things, by the way. You should bring her on when you have a chance.
Yeah. Can we have you, I think it's because you're on the phone, you're kind of on one side of the screen. Would you mind just going? There you go, looking great. I appreciate it.
Apologies.
And so who would have thought that one of the few or the only Tibetan museum in America is in Staten Island, which is pretty cool. Rajan says, I have to admit that I cannot take the Staten Island ferry without having Carly Simon's song Let the River Run from the 1988 film Working Girl running through my head. So tell us about the connection to Staten Island and that movie and other movies too.
Well, that movie came out just around the time that I was becoming a working woman. And I had an interesting beginning. I decided that I wanted to be a pharmaceutical salesperson. And they didn't exist in, well, women didn't work in that industry in the 1980s. And so Working Girl came out, and I had just graduated college, and I wanted to do something that was in a man's field. And I was so inspired by the movie. And the opening of the movie is, or the theme of the movie, you see the main character taking the ferry to work. And it has always been the way it has been portrayed. It does look like that. It's quite interesting to see. And I was really inspired by it. But another statistic about Staten Island is that we have a tremendous film industry. Because of the, we have mountains, we have shore, we have green areas, we have historic buildings. So we have a lot of movies and television production here on Staten Island.
Marilyn, before you go there, let's see if we can play a little bit of this. I'm often get in trouble if you play music on our Facebook and YouTube, but maybe because it's such an old movie, nobody will care. We'll see if we can do this. So this is along with the theme song "Let the River Run" by Carly Simon. So it's a movie called Working Girl. Melanie Griffith was the star of it, and it opens. At least the title sequence is set in Staten Island or on the Staten Island ferry, isn't it? So let's play it. And you can narrate some of this if you like.
This is how I go to FIT. I take the ferry to FIT.
Sigourney Weaver. And so where are we looking at? Where's Staten Island?
It's not there yet. It is just the beginning.
So there's the statue. There's Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, you know, that is the best way to see the Statue of Liberty for free. And we have about 80,000 pre-COVID. We had about 80,000 tourists taking the Staten Island ferry every day. I don't know. Do you have the part with her on the ferry yet?
There's the ferry. There's the ferry.
Yeah, it's going to zoom into it. The ferry is one of the most reliable transportation around. It takes about 20 minutes to get from end to end. We walk in a herd to get there. I'm sorry you're not able to see the scene of the ferry or of her standing in that particular scene, but maybe you'll be able to.
No, they're zooming in right now.
Yeah, it looks like they're zooming in, and also the ferry doesn't turn; it goes back and forth. So that's kind of cool to be on it.
I just want to point out I just wanted to point out that we're seeing the Twin Towers, and a shout out and rest in peace to all who died and suffered through the 9/11 attacks. This is so sad. Our friend Jonathan was just talking to me today about programming a show about how New York survived and bounced back after 9/11, and we were just talking about that. So what lessons can we learn from that recovery that we can apply to this recovery here? So you were saying that the ferry doesn't turn around; it just goes back and forth, and there's
it goes back and forth. It doesn't. It does make a turn, like it kind of does an arch getting into the slip, but it only goes one way. Oh, here it is. Yes, that's what it looked like, and that's pre-smartphone days where people read newspapers and talk to each other on the ferry. Now everybody sits with their smartphones and just ignores everybody else, except for me, because I have to talk to people. and so I try not to look at my phone when I'm on it, and look more at who's visiting, who's looking at different things. Sometimes I make myself the self-appointed tour guide on the ferry, but it's a good way to go. Come visit. You'll see interesting things. You could get great food, wonderful culture, and a good community. And I think that's what you wanted to talk to me about a little bit, is what the community did. And there are some people that are watching, and I know Sharmila is on. And like I said, I really felt great that I wasn't needed this time around, because it's a burden, it's hard, and then I knew that there were talented people out there that can bring the community together and bring such good information. And another person who took an initiative was Natalie DeVito. And we had started a page called the Staten Island COVID resource page. So that worked hand in hand with the COVID task force through the Borough President's Office and the Not-for-Profit Association and COAD. And that really all came together great. So I started to say I started to work on this startup project, and it's actually my sister-in-law, who is Claudia Zayfert, and she's a psychologist. But there was a lot of talk of people being disconnected and depression, and isolation. And very often, when you go through a tragedy, no matter what it is, and people associate the 5 steps of grieving, the Kubler-Ross 5 steps of grieving. But what I started to see also was that so many people were going through these, and there's more than now 5 steps of grieving, but this process of grieving loss, not just human loss, but loss of their lives and their communities and their jobs and their businesses the way they knew it. And so we started talking, and this product has been around a while. So we are now, we actually are going to be working with the University of Canada soon. It's called EPST. The company is Evermind, and it is a fully, it has been approved by the FDA, and it's a tool that you could use in addition to receiving mental health care face-to-face. And it's not a game. It's not like what you've been seeing where people have been able to go through game steps. It's actual, hold on a second. It's actual, followed by a psychologist in step with a therapist to help treat signs of depression.
And so you're working on that, though. That is such an important thing that you're bringing to folks at this time. We're seeing mental health issues really coming kind of back to back with, and a result of all the stress and the health and financial problems that everyone's facing now.
Right, and also, you know, businesses, they want to keep their employees active and healthy, and so we can't see each other. It's hard to get face-to-face therapy. So imagine being able to use some kind of application that allows you to work through your problems and help you, and also being followed by a clinician that can give you advice and then move you along to the proper care. So I really started working on that, and we're finding a great deal of interest in this. It's funny because we're working on it for years and years, and then COVID hits, and bang, the moment has happened where now this isn't a nice to have, it's a need to have product out there. And the same thing with education. I know that I've been talking about the paradigms of education and changing education to reach people easier, and to really teach our next generations the way that they're learning now, which is digitally. Our education in America, our education system was founded on an industrialized model to get the general population ready to work in factories and corporations, reading, writing, and arithmetic. But now there are different needs that have to be met. So having, you know, all of this is coming together unexpectedly during the crisis, because we're seeing that we have to meet different needs, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, medicine, telemedicine, and as well as education, which now brings me to this fantastic project that I've been working on. And it just happened to occur in mid-July. Because of the shutdowns and schools were closed, New York City has a wonderful program called the Summer Youth Employment Program. And being a kid that grew up in New York City, I could tell you that we utilize the city programs. I know that in the summer, we didn't have a summer youth employment program, but we did have summer camps and after school programs that were provided by the city. And it gave us a lot of opportunity and different topics to discover and people to meet. So I was watching what was happening with the summer youth employment program, and it was canceled due to COVID. It was canceled due to COVID because schools were closed, social distancing, and budgetary cuts. And we were, well, the city was lucky enough that they got $51 million approved, and they were able to put together a program called Summer Bridge Program, which would include about 30,000 New York City students, where they would be able to take part in 5 weeks of programming and get paid to take part in that programming. And the programming was based on what's happening in the world today. So it was on domestic violence and civil injustice and Black Lives Matter, the census, voting, relationship management, so on and so forth. So what had happened was I got a call from one of the recruiters looking for somebody to do a workplace challenge with the students. So there were 2 sections. There were speaking programs and there were workplace challenges, and the students were put into digital cohorts, and this was all being done digitally. How fantastic is that? And I just, when they asked me to volunteer to give a program, and my program was on maintaining your digital footprint and making sure that you're safe, but they had then asked me to become part of the project, and there was a fantastic team. Now remember, they were notified in mid-July, and the program was starting at the end of July. So they had a few weeks to envision a purely digital educational program that speaks to what's happening in these times in this city, that the students can use in addition to getting workplace knowledge. So there was a lot going on, and they did it. We did it. We got the speakers, we got the educators. One after another came in and on Zoom met with the students. We had educator facilitators that worked with the cohorts. And then yesterday, they put on their day of action. And if you have an opportunity, it's on my Facebook page. It's a public link to take a look. It's under United Activities Unlimited. It was a monumental team effort. We moved thousands of students every day in and out of Zoom classrooms to come to an end where they put together a beautiful program to show what they have learned. It was even more overwhelming than I thought it could be, their responses. It was fantastic.
That is so cool to hear. Folks, share your questions or comments about Staten Island or digital or marketing or social, because Marilyn Zayfert knows all. M. Zayfert on Twitter, at MZAYFERT, and do connect with her. Let's look at all the comments coming in. There's so many that we haven't gone to yet. My mother is watching in Kerala. Hi, Amma, love you. And have you been to India, Marilyn?
No.
Okay.
I have to, I was planning on traveling after my, daughter grew up, and my husband is now retired, and we thought we could do some interesting things, and then COVID hit. So I hope to get there one day. I do want to do some traveling, and I want to say hello to everybody in the world. And when you come into New York City, look me up, because I'll tell you all the secret places to eat and all the interesting characters to look for. And you know, I know all of New York City, not just Staten Island. You're too kind, but I would love to connect with anybody who's out there that would be interested in connecting.
What
And
an
of
offer
course,
for everybody. What an offer, everyone. Find her on Twitter, follow her on Facebook. And by the way, we call the show the Queen of Staten Island because she is the Queen of Staten Island. But there's also a film that's out right now called The King of Staten Island with Pete Davidson. What do you know about that film? Is it any good? What is it? He's from Staten Island, I guess. Is it?
yes,
Is it
yes.
a semi-autobiographical story? He's the guy from SNL. What's all that about?
Well, you know, we finally are getting some notice because of SNL, and actually, well, nobody's really interested. We're doing a fundraiser at the Staten Island Museum, which I am not involved in this year, the fundraiser, but Colin Jost is going to be on it. So Colin Jost has been a writer on SNL. We have a lot of rich comedy that comes out of Staten Island. If you have ever seen the show Impractical Jokers, that's a Staten Island show, very funny, with the Tenderloins. But Colin knew, as far as the story that I know, that knew of Pete. Pete was a funny guy. Yeah, his father was a fireman and lost his life during the September 11th attacks. And so Staten Island lost, again, a high percentage of our community to, as compared to the rest of the city, I should say. We didn't lose a high percentage of people on Staten Island, but involved with the 9/11 and falling of the towers. So he was obviously devastated and raised here. Funny kid. He's a young guy. He was discovered. He was brought into the show. It was Pete Davidson's father that was the fireman. And
are you being fact-checked at the moment?
I'm sorry?
Are you being fact-checked at the moment?
Yes, I was fact-checked at the moment. My husband said, I said Colin's father. No, actually his mother was, Colin Jost's mother worked with the fire department. She's a fire department physician. And so they knew each other. Colin got Pete involved with SNL and the stories there. I saw King of Staten Island. Some people really don't like it because it portrays a certain kind of culture on Staten Island that does exist. But it's very good-hearted. It's a great story. And it is something that you should see because it was very real. And it helps you understand what people really go through after they go through so much tragedy in life. So I certainly recommend that you see that movie and anything else. I mean, just, I know I'm doing a come visit Staten Island, and we actually have a site called Visit Staten Island. So if you don't want to rely on talking to me, you could go to Visit Staten Island and you can learn about all the interesting things that are out here. Another interesting tidbit about why Staten Island is so green. Yeah, that's my blog. But Staten Island is so green because we have the highest altitude on the northeastern seaboard. So when the birds are migrating from Canada, they land here.
I'm already learning so much.
I know, I'm an encyclopedia.
and tell us about Fresh Kills and that kind of the reputation that having a large landfill caused for Staten Island and the headache and the problems it caused anyway. But now it's all different, right?
Well, yeah, and actually I took a chance coming here from Brooklyn because I grew up saying Staten Island stinks and sinks, and I'll never go there because Staten Island had the world's largest trash dump. Okay, and as I had said earlier, we didn't have a high population. And so before the city built the bridge, or it was built, the Verrazano Bridge is actually built as an extension of the I-95 so that it connects through from New England down south. But before the bridge was built, they thought it was a good idea to have a nice big trash dump. I don't have the dates. You could look it up. It was called the Fresh Kills trash dump. There was rumors that you could see it from outer space, but that's a rumor. Okay, you couldn't see it from outer space, and it took a very long time to get it closed. And it really, the odors, the trash, the dumping, it was terrible, terrible, terrible to live here. Well, fast forward about 20 years since it's been closed, and we have an environmental miracle. I haven't been in it, but I hear there are streams, there are wildlife. We have foxes, right? As a matter of fact, if you look in the comments, people are biking through. It was a terrible place to go. It was filled with garbage and seagulls. When I came to Staten Island in 1988, I've been here since 1988, I consulted with some naturalists. There was this guy, Dick Bugler, who was a noted naturalist, and he said, oh, no, we're working very hard to get that dump closed. And you can come here and rest assured you will be safe. You will not drink toxic water. You will not turn green. And so we took a chance. We came here. He was right. It's been closed. If there are tours of the Fresh Kills, take a day, come, get a bike, you could ride your bike actually on the Staten Island ferry. So, and ride over here. We have tremendous bike trails and hiking trails, and it's just incredible. It's such a different place. We go to this place called Mount Loretto Natural Preserve. I may be getting the name wrong. It's called Mount Loretto, and you could watch seals from the shore.
No,
Can you do that?
Yeah, no, that's.
Can you do that in Manhattan? No,
we can't.
Okay.
No, I want everybody to understand that she's giving us so many great ideas for New York, and especially those of us who are feeling locked in Manhattan, cycling down to the ferry and then taking a ferry. Are there city bikes yet on Staten Island?
We did have a number of bicycles. The contracts were not renewed. I know that they're looking to bring it back again. We have a very active transportation alternatives group here that works with the city to expand bike riding. We have miles of trails. You could actually, if you come off of the ferry, you can ride around the perimeter of Staten Island, or through most of it, yeah, all the way. I mean, if you want, it's a long ride, but you could do it. And on your ride, you will see Battery Tweed, where they fought the Revolutionary War. You will go under the Verrazano Bridge. You will then go through our public beach areas, South Beach, Midland Beach, New Dorp, different beaches, Great Kills. We have a national park, the Gateway National Park. And then you go into the other natural areas. There are tons and tons of natural areas. There are places for great food, cultural. Even our St. George Theater, which is a beautiful theater that is a not-for-profit association. So it's run by a not-for-profit to bring a lot of wonderful current theater and music to Staten Island, and people come from all over to the St. George Theater to visit that. And what they restored it to its beautiful kind of Roxy Theater lights and marble. It's just a beautiful place to see. It's just wonderful. So, and I cannot forget, if you come off the ferry and you don't want to go everywhere, you could just like stay in the basic area, and there's the National Lighthouse Museum. Yes, folks, we have a national museum on Staten Island.
It's all about lighthouses, I gather. What about, are there places to eat right off the ferry? Can there places you can walk, or do you have to take an Uber or a taxi?
There are there's a few places on Bay Street. There's the Bay Street corridor, which is where you find Little Sri Lanka. But there is the Bay Street corridor, which has a number of fantastic restaurants. We've had some Michelin star restaurants. Empire Outlets, which is the only outlet mall in New York City, is right next to the ferry. They don't have fine dining, but you could certainly get a bite to eat at Shake Shack. And across the street we have Enoteca Maria, which has not been open. It's a very small place, but Enoteca Maria is the place where they have grandmas, nonas, cooking for you. And they have nonas from all over the world cooking their dishes for you right there. You could go to Irby, which has a number of restaurants. And then also right next to it is Minthorn Street, which has our flagship brewery. Yes, we have not one, but 3 breweries on Staten Island. Okay. And we have Daddy-O's. I know that they're going to kill me. I'll forget something. We have an English pub. We have and Beso for Spanish food. So yeah, I mean, even if you don't want to go far and you just want to take a quick trip, there's lots to do and see.
And I'm just curious, do they allow dogs on the ferry?
Only in a bag.
All right.
You have to keep it in a bag. So what I've seen people do is they take that big IKEA blue bag, if you've ever seen one of those big IKEA, yeah. and they cut holes on the bottom for the dog's leg, and then they walk the dog with the bag. So yes. I'm
definitely thinking about that for our dog. Our dog hates going in bags, but we may have to do that. We're almost out of time. Let's just do a quick tour. Shalini's watching from DC. Brian says, congrats on episode 170 tonight. Love seeing you voice your vibe. We appreciate your incredible consistency, showing up every day. And this is because of all the stuff that our producers do. We appreciate you very much. And Joyce Apollo says, hello from Vegas. We're watching Kamala's speech again because that's leadership. She had a great speech this afternoon. Have you a Vegas story that you can share with us, or is it nothing shareable to the public?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I actually was in Vegas. Met Dolly Parton.
Oh, you got to tell us that. Yeah.
It was just because she was giving a show and I met her there. Vegas. My best Vegas story was that I had a friend that lived in Vegas. And so I went to her house and we were going out for dinner to Spago, which is, and I know I live in New York City, but still one of the best meals I've ever had at Spago. But the best memory of Las Vegas was driving through the desert at sunset with a coyote running alongside the car. So, you know, Vegas was nice. It's a beautiful, also communities outside of the casino area. It was such a wonderful place to go because there was so much to do, even if you don't gamble. The entertainment was fantastic. I loved it there. It was very hot, but I did enjoy it there. And yeah, my best story was a coyote running alongside the car at sunset.
We'll take it. And Apollo says, thank you for being an awesome helper. And Brian says, stay safe. Rose has been tweeting and sharing and tagging people. And
I will answer everybody back after the show or
tomorrow
in the morning.
Yeah. Stefan says, my dear friend, social media colleague, and fellow FIT professor Marilyn Z an amazing human being who is a straight up New Yorker like yours truly, who always tells it like it is, no matter the subject. So, and that's our friend, our dear friend, Stefan Kaplan. And Rose is tagging Stacy Kratz, who's terrific. Camille says hello. And Tim says he loves seeing us both here together. We talked about the Tibetan Museum. I think people wouldn't be surprised. There are 3 breweries in Staten Island, but they may be surprised how good the Sri Lankan restaurants are. The only Tibetan museum in America is there. And let's see what else. There's lots of other comments coming in here. Anand says he's a big fan of Scroll. Kat Gutman says, awesome, Marilyn. And Vandana is excited that Harrison Ford and Melanie Griffith were on the movie. And I'm looking forward, she says, to watching Pete Davidson's King of Staten Island. And Sharmila says there's Teresa Tanjan, Sabita Roy. They're talking about our Staten Island. So that's awesome. Say hi to all my friends on Staten Island. And Rajan says some of the more poignant photos I took of downtown Manhattan before and after the events of 9/11 were taken from the vantage points of the ferry. And that's so important. Did the ferry shut down during COVID, or was it always running like the subway?
You know, I know that they changed how often it ran. So yeah, I know that it closes. I know that they're doing a lot of disinfection with it and social distancing. So, you know, we're going to have to live with this for a long time. And part of like what you're doing is adapting to the changes that we have to live with. And I just, you know, I didn't talk about social media or digital that much today, but it's because of social media and digital that we're all together here and learning from each other. And as much as I speak about me being a native New Yorker, it's because we have so many different people, so many different cultures coming in and living together that it's just a really wonderful place to be. And I just hope that the world gets to a place where we feel happy about every day. I know that I see a lot of positive things coming out of what we are living with, and I think that we have a fantastic future ahead of us for all of us, wherever we are.
I like your positivity. Let me just read Sharmila's message. Sharmila is a dear friend for more than 2 decades. Check out the Staten Island Advances week-long series about how our island nonprofits and cultural organizations, including several you've mentioned, are doing during these challenging times. Thanks to Claire Reagan for reaching out and profiling so many of our important organizations and the critical services programs they provide for our communities. Today begins a week-long series, she says. So everybody check that out, please, on the Staten Island Advance. That's the local newspaper out there in on Staten Island. And Vandana has linked to your website, Staten Island Living. And Sharmila says, yay for Natalie DeVito. Amazing partnerships all around. Grateful for your initiative and leadership here, Marilyn. And Sharmila, you've really got to come on this show and teach us all the great stuff you're doing. So many awesome comments that we won't be able to get to here. Everyone's kind of annotating your comments because there were so much great advice. That's exceedingly important, Apollo says, about your mental health initiative. Many people are depressed and they don't know it. It's great to have a tool that builds coping mechanisms and have that paired with a psychologist to build methods that improve mental well-being. Awesome. Tell us again how people can find this new tool you've helped create.
It's on Evermind. The website is I have to get that up for you.
We'll find it. We'll find it. Don't worry.
I did send it over to you. So it's called EPST. And it was developed using
I found the address. The address is evermindgroup.com, and look for EPST for depression. Evermindgroup.com, EPST for depression.
And actually, if you want to, you can actually, as a direct customer, you could try it out. We're working with mostly human resources to get different companies for healthcare for their businesses. But check it out, and we're working on that. And I'm sure that you're going to see a lot of new, completely digital educational initiatives coming out for the city. So I'm looking forward to working on those going forward, and working with you, Sree, and doing the things that we do together too. We haven't even discussed those. So
no, we haven't, but we will. We'll definitely have you back. Rose says great tribute. When she was growing up in New York, in Queens, she doesn't think she ever visited Staten Island. Rajan has put in a link to this. I should tell everybody that at the end of the show, thanks to Rajan, we are able to do a tribute to the folks as part of the Say Their Names. You know, I asked Kimberly Crenshaw, the amazing Columbia Law School professor who coined the term intersectionality, and asked her, what can we do to be allies of the Black community? And she said, say their name. So I'm going to do that at the end of the show. Rose says, I know I am an encyclopedia. She's quoting you. I know I'm an encyclopedia. Rajan says, I hadn't known about Staten Island having the highest point on the eastern seaboard. Very cool. I previously thought it was Inwood or Fort Tryon section of Manhattan. And Sharmila says, oh my, growing up with that legacy was tough, but we biked to Fresh Kills Park last week. It's beautiful, says Sharmila. And I know you have foxes. Stacy Kratz posted a pic, and I said, what? And Stefan says, Sree, Marilyn, he's tagging all these folks and sharing a photo. Oops, I think you've gone sideways there. Did you do that? Or did that just happen? Marilyn, can you just switch the phone? I think she's frozen, and there may be a problem with her phone. This is fun sometimes with technology. And Rahajan says how the world posted an article how the world's largest landfill became New York's biggest new park. And Doug Levy says it makes me want to move back to New York City. And so many great comments coming in. Always appreciate Marilyn's attitude and energy, says Atmos Appeal. So many great links that have been posted here by Rahajan. Look at all of these. And Mark is saying hello from Durham, North Carolina. And Sharmila is talking about O. Henry's Public House. And someone saying, hi, Marilyn, I miss you. And Killsborough Brewing House. You met Dolly, says Joyce. Love Dolly. Marilyn, like you're a perfect ad for Staten Island, the unexpected borough for sure. Come visit. And so she's putting a link to all of this here as well. Great advertisement for Staten Island, says Jonathan. And Catherine says, love the Tibetan Museum. Nice to see you all. So many great comments coming in here. Rose says, thank you for sharing. Did you know that women's suffrage has major roots here as well? I did not know that, Sharmila. Thank you for sharing that. And many, many comments. Everyone should check out the online programming coming out of the Alice Austin House and their current show on writer and Black feminist Audre Lorde. And that is just great to hear that. That is, and the best Staten Island comic book store, says Rajan. And so many other comments coming here. There's a tweet to a link with the mental health website, says Rose, so she'll post it here as well. But please follow Rose Horowitz 31. She's live tweeting Vandana Menon, our other producer. Because of them, we've been live for 170 straight days here. Sree, as you mentioned, social and racial justice, so much going on here, specifically with our youth. So she's pointing to an article there as well. So everyone, please check that out. I think it's just awesome that we are able to talk about all of this and share it with all of you. So before we go, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to see if we can get Marilyn back. I think we have her back, so she can give us a couple of final thoughts. And my mom says, I have many friends in Staten Island. So that is so great that my mom is saying that. And let's go to Marilyn for some final thoughts, Marilyn.
Well, I apologize. I broke your sacred rules, Sree.
Which is
and
what?
You know what that rule is?
No, you tell me.
Always be charging.
Yes.
Yes. And I always am charging, except I didn't today. And I lost battery power, so I had to find my cord which should have been nearby but wasn't, and now you are seeing me in a different room, so at a weird angle. I apologize for that, but it was just such a wonderful pleasure to be with you and to be able to talk about where I live, where I come from, the things that I see, and my community, because I have to tell you that this tragedy, this crisis that we've been through, our community really came together to help each other, and we will be there. When I asked people to come and volunteer their time to work with the students for the UAU, there were people lining up to do this. So I'm really happy to be here and part of something. And you said earlier in the show about coming back after 9/11. Yeah, you know, we have no doubt that we'll come back. I have no doubt that New York City will be and continue to be the greatest city ever. And that wherever we are now is just a blip, and that we will be stronger and better and wonderful in the future. And that's where we're at right now.
That is, thank you for saying that. Rahajan says, blessings to you and your family, Marilyn Zayfert. And
blessings to you.
And Rahajan says, ABC always be charging. I heard that in Alec Baldwin's voice from Glengarry Glen Ross, where he says always be closing. And of course, Alec Baldwin was also, to bring this all full circle, in Working Girl, the movie which starts on the Staten Island ferry with Melanie Griffith as a young working professional. And in 1988, Marilyn said that she she loved that movie, and she was in a male-dominated field herself in pharmaceutical sales. And that was, I can picture her and her commute as well. So that is just great. So thank you so much. I'll let you go. And everyone, please follow her, M. Zayfert, and check out StatenIslandLiving.com and connect with the other great folks. And Marilyn, while you were off camera, there were several new comments came in. So when you get a chance, check them out. There was one on Twitter, which you may miss. So I want to pull that up if I can. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. Always appreciate Marilyn's attitude and energy. And that's Mossy.
Oh, hi. Yes. Thank you. And thank you for everybody, all my friends that came on to watch. It's really me. Still the same, but my phone is moving. That's why it keeps on. It's doing its own thing. But again, just be positive, everybody, because life is great, and we're just going through a hard time right now. But we'll turn it around. As long as we're together, we could do this. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me.
Of course. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye, folks. And that was the awesome Marilyn Zayfert, someone who I've gotten to know over the last decade and been so inspired and impressed by everything she's doing. Please check her website out, StatenIslandLiving.com, and check out M. Zayfert on Twitter. So now we're going to read their names, as we were asked to do by Kimberly Crenshaw, who I asked, what can we do to help? And she said, say their name. So big thank you to our friend Rahajan, who typed up these names for us so that we can say them. So I'm going to do that right now. And I appreciate everyone listening. And please say them along with me, and know that these are not all the names. There are so many others. But he typed this out, and I'm very grateful to him for doing so. So let's say their names, and let's say them together. Jacob Blake, shot by police, has not been killed yet. I'm just so glad that he is still alive in the latest news. This was just on Sunday, as you know. All right, let's read the names. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Michael Dean, Tatiana Jefferson, Botham Jean, Antoine Rose II, Danny Ray Thomas, Stefan Clark, Aaron Bailey, Charlena Siobhan Lyles, Jordan Edwards, Chad Robertson, Mohammed Muhaim Jr., Terrence Crutcher, Corin Gaines, Joseph Mann, Philando Castillo, Alton Sterling, Kaylin Rockmore, Janet Wilson, India Kager, Samuel Dubose, Darius Stewart, Sandra Bland, Alexia Christian, William L. Chapman II, Freddie Gray, Walter Scott, Eric Harris, Maya Hall, Megan Hockaday, Janisha Fonville, Natasha McKenna, Jerame Reed, Tamir Rice, Akai Gurley, Tanisha Anderson, Aura Rosser, Shanique Proctor, Laquan McDonald, Michelle Cousseau, Michael Brown Jr., Eric Garner, Pearlie Golden, Gabriela Navarez, Yvette Smith, Renisha McBride, Miriam Carey, Chaim Livingston, Kayla Moore, Shelley Frey, Melissa Williams, Shalana Weldon, Alicia Thomas, Chantel Davis, Charmel Edwards, Rekia Boyd, Cherise Francis, Trayvon Martin, Aliana Stanley Jones, Ryan Boudou. Some of you may know that Ryan's brother was on this show a few weeks ago, and he talked about his brother's death in police custody in New York. Tanika Wilson, Catherine Johnston, Alberta Spruill, Kendra James, Latanya Haggerty, Margaret Laverne Mitchell, Taisha Miller, Danette Daniels, Frankie Ann Perkins, Sanji Taylor, Eleanor Bumpers, Emmett Till, George Stinney Jr., convicted of murder in an unfair trial as determined in 2014 and executed in an electric chair June 16, 1944. And Emmett Till, killed by white supremacists on August 28, 1955. A very hard list to go through, but imagine all those stories. You know some of those names are household names now, but how many names did you actually know? Every name has a story. Every name has a history. Every name had a life and family and friends, and all of them are lost. Tonight at the Trump, at the Republican National Convention, President Trump is going to make this about law and order, and he did not say a word about the shooting of Mr. Blake in Wisconsin, but talked about the protests. He didn't say a word about a white teenager who has a website full of social media is full of pro-Trump sayings, going out there and taking a gun and shooting at least one person and killing that person. That is not the America that we all signed up for. It's not the America many of us were born into. It's not the America that many of us have chosen to be where we raise our kids. And that is what you're going to hear tonight from President Trump and what you hear every single day. We're going to be on the air every day covering various aspects of the coronavirus crisis as well as politics leading up to the election. We have promised to be live every day through the election. It's now episode number 170. We're so grateful to everyone. I want to tell you about tomorrow's show. And tomorrow we are going to meet one of my friends, Simranjeet Singh, and his book is called Fauja Singh Keeps Going, the true story of the oldest person to ever run a marathon, illustrated by Baljinder Kaur. And Simranjeet is an amazing activist, writer, anti-racist, amazing person. So you're going to learn a lot from him, not just about this book, but so much more. So please tune in tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern. You will learn a lot, as I will tomorrow. And we want to thank our sponsors, as always, for making this possible. And so we want to start with nonbelievable.com. Divinely delicious cookies on a mission, 20% off the code nonbelievable. If you use the code Sree at nonbelievable.com. A big thank you to Muckrack Academy for fundamentals of social media. Free certification now available, mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. And also a big thank you to The Inventor in You, a step-by-step guide to your first invention by Charles Cunnan Carroll, developer of more than 80 patents, at Inventor Charles on Twitter, and guidetoinvention.com is his book. So we're very grateful to him as well. And additional promotional considerations been provided by Hotstar.com premiere nights, Hotstar.com/US. Check that out for Friday night. We'll have a new trailer and a new ad as we talk about Hotstar.com/US. And we also want to thank our events partner, OneShared.World's big conference, Interdependent Summit 2020, Rise or Fall Together, Thursday, September 17th, 9 a.m. to noon. Free at oneshared.world/live. Oneshared.world. Everybody check it out. Renee Fleming, David Nabarro, Jairam Ramesh, Kekashan Basu, amazing world-renowned speakers are going to be there, and it's all free. Please check it out. And big thank you to all who watched and everyone who's been able to support us. We are so grateful to all of you for being here, for supporting us, and for being part of the family that's come together. And Rahajan says, thank you for adding on the list and sharing this. We are very, very grateful and just appreciate everyone. One more thing that I'm going to tell you is that if you'd like to support what we're doing, you may have a friend who should be on the show, or maybe you should be on the show. So tell us. We're always looking for guest ideas. You can imagine that it's not so easy to program more than 300 guests for the show in 170 days. We're also looking always for sponsors. So if you have a sponsor idea, please let us know. And the show is basically an ad for the work that we do in our production company, Digimentors.group. Check us out, Digimentors.group, or just email me. And if you have a conference, we'd love to put it online for you. If you'd like to have your own talk show, we'd like to make it for you. So please get in touch with us. Sree@Sree.net is my email address. And please subscribe on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SreeNet. And please hit that subscribe button. And finally, one other way to keep in touch is to subscribe to our WhatsApp alerts. These are not another WhatsApp group for you. These are just alerts, gentle alerts. All you do is hold up your phone and you can get the information you need on how to get a gentle alert every time we are live.